watching Canada and the U.S. Play and perform, I was really struck by, I know many of the girls in the Canadian team, and I really haven't seen them play for much for the last year and a half or two. I was really struck by the improvement in the speed of the Canadian game. And we talked about Jamie Lee. I think her skating has gone to a different level than it was before. It was always a bit of a knock on her that she didn't kind of have elite level speed. I felt like she really fit into the game extremely well over the past couple of weeks. I would say the same about Victoria Bach. To the point that I knew Victoria from before. I hadn't seen her play for maybe 2 years or more. And I was like, who is that out there? I don't know who that is. Her skating has improved. It's really a testament to those players, their commitment to get better on the physical side, as well as the tactical side. Melody Daou, same thing. Like, her skating has come to a whole different level from 3, 4, 5 years ago. And it really points to the commitment of all those women at the highest level to be the best they can be and to keep improving. And, so I was really struck by that for the first time in a long time, we really matched or out skated the Americans on a speed level, which is really heartening for all of us as Canadians. Maybe not so much if you're on the American side. But anyway, so those are just some thoughts and observations.
Before I ask Sammi for her thoughts on it, because, it is a women's game, and Sammy's really into it at the creation of, wanting to see the pro game take off for them. I agree with Tim, everything you said. I'm more impressed with the direction we're going now, seeing the way they played in this championships, their respondents to resiliency, but everything you said, their speed of execution and their ability to play together. And in the 3-on-3 overtime, that to me was, we are way better than them. Like, watching the players that were playing out in overtime use that big ice, make a few possession changes, and score the winning goal in the way they did. I'm really optimistic about the future. I just think the biggest challenge is, it isn't a challenge. It's something to celebrate. Centralization, it's perfect timing now. Month off, they come back, and they can get better and better and better. And I think they will. It was really an amazing victory. So, Sammi, what are your thoughts from the whole thing?
Well, I love Tim's insights. And, it's interesting now being more of an observer, having seen these players play simply, 2 years ago. So my insights now come from Jamie Lee, who we chat with all the time, and Megan Bozak, who's a good friend of ours who lived with us. So, getting the two perspectives. So yeah, I guess what's my overall feeling? I think, like, I was swept up with the World Championship. So I think some really great things happening from TSN that, filmed or televised them all. That was a huge step in terms of women's hockey. So how do we maintain that? Is that maybe these things need to happen in the summer so that there's more television? Or I'm curious what the viewership was compared to if it would normally be in April. So I don't know. I love that. I love being able to see the other countries play. My overall goaltending thought was I was super impressed with the European goalies, on a whole. And I shouldn't say European, Asian, non-North American goalies. when we played in the past, Wally and Tim can attest to this, that I would say that the goalies on the other teams were weaker, and it wasn't much of a game because you kind of knew you could score. Well, this wasn't the case. Even when they were getting outshot by 50 shots, it was still exciting to watch, and the players still had to push hard. So from a fan perspective, I love that. But it also means that in these other countries, they are doing a lot in goaltending that we are not doing here. And that was the conversation in my the goalie skills certification course that I'm taking. However, I think Desbiens responded very well in the final, and mentally, I think mentally was able to perform on the big stage. So I was excited to see that. But I would say neither North American squads have goalies that are winning the game for them right now. It is more about who is consistent enough to be able to withstand the barrage when it happens versus in the past, somebody like Shannon Zabados, or I don't know if you guys remember, like Shanda Gunn won a world championship one time for the US. Like it just kind of was what goalie is going to stand ahead is going to win it. I don't feel that anymore. But I could be wrong. I mean, my judgment is from 5 games. And they also have not seen real game action. So it's hard to pass judgment when we're in a little bit of an anomaly. I'm excited to see centralization and see them play more often. I was disappointed to not see Kristen Campbell at least get 1 game. If you're going to centralize her and you're going to have her there, give her a shot so that she at least knows what it's like to play on a world stage. So if she is your goalie of choice come the next Olympics, that would be helpful to just have 1 game under your belt. So I was a little disappointed at that. I was disappointed that Mashmeyer seemed to outplay Desbiens, but then not be really given an opportunity. So there was already sort of a predisposed plan there, similar to Jamie Lee Rattray. There was a predisposed plan, but her attitude was really great. And so that was really nice to see. And I think, coaches never want to be proven wrong. So that's sometimes hard, I think, to go back and to change your plan midstream. Will these coaches be heralded for the championship? Yes. I mean, I think that they won. So in the end, what is Hockey Canada's mandate is to win. However, I think, it's interesting to hear Kim's perspective, chatting with her offline of how many other women, deserve that opportunity to coach there, and were not given that opportunity. We watched the semifinal game with my Furies coaches, which was really fun. So getting to chat with Courtney Bouchard, or Courtney Kessel, I guess now, and hear from her perspective, who else, somebody like Vicky Sanahara, who I assumed said no to the position. But I mean, who knows, some fresh face coaches coming in can be a really great thing too. So, it's hard to dispute when they win, and I think that's exciting. So in a short-term tournament, I think Canada did what they needed to do, and they all came together, and with amazing internal leadership, I think we're able to pull it off. The Americans have not played together, and the Canadians have had these hubs. So I think they were further ahead when it came to chemistry and being able to see each other on the ice. But I think in centralization, I think will skew it more to the American way when they finally get to play together. So I think we'll see a different American team come the Olympics. And I know that every centralization I've ever been through, there always is an improvement in the Canadian side. So I think it just might be faster for the Americans, and then it might be this slow build for the Canadians. And then once again, we'll see a finals that I think will be better than anything we've ever seen. So I digress. I could talk on and on about this, but
I want to give you my 2 bits worth. Initially going in right from the get-go when they named the coaching staff, and I know the number of people that were available, and I think they could have done a similar job, just as good a job, and gotten the same result. The thing that I was impressed with was the tactical things that seem to be happening with the team that I didn't see happening before. They were doing things that the NHL guys were doing, and I think some of that might have come from, and I don't know, I'm guessing, the assistant coach who was been hired by the New York Rangers to implement different tactics that they're capable of doing, and I thought that contributed to it. I thought the players, like Jamie Lee, had to cope with the shortening of the bench and the using of more players than others, and not coaching for development so that you go with your horses at the right time and the right way, not never to diminish the value of the people being on the team. And that was my concern, and it is going to be to the end with female sports. Number one, open-mindedness to learning from the guys' game. Not necessarily how guys coach, but the guys' game is a laboratory. And you have got to adopt with the technical and tactical and individual skill development. And I'm bringing up, Darryl Belfry's name because he's working with great NHL players and making great players better. And so the tactical focus of the NHL is something that females in their desire to take ownership of their own game, which they should have, can never lose sight of learning the lessons from the male side of the game. And I'm concerned over the course of centralization is roles are picked and determined, and players coming in won't have a chance to develop as much in reality. And I don't know until they play those games, but if they don't get opportunities over the course of the 7 months to play in critical situations and be exposed to them, be it a goaltender or a forward on the power play or a defender on the power play, then they won't be as good as they could be as a team. And that's a mindset that I've had for my lifetime, coaching men, but more so coaching women, the importance of that. And that's my only concern moving forward. Kudos to them for the result. I just hope they've learned from this experience and realize that emotional intelligence of coaching on their side is affecting the thoughts and the feelings and the performance of all of the players on the team. Keep that in mind before the outcome. It's a process. It's a long term. It's 7 months now, and you're not trying to win the Olympics in the first 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. And it's really important that they get better because, as you said, the Americans will get better. I didn't realize they hadn't been together as often as we have, which gave us a real advantage, but they've done a good job.
I'm curious from your perspective, in 2005, we lost the Worlds and went on to win the Olympics in really dominating fashion. So I'm curious from your perspective what this result kind of can mean or what did it mean to us back then? I mean, you were behind the scenes going through all of that.
Well, I was disappointed we lost the Worlds, and I know Tim was there, and I'm going to let him answer that. But from my point of view, you never win or lose. You win or learn. We obviously learned. And I'm worried here. We won. Well, we learned as much if we'd have lost. And the idea is learn about development, learn about growth and improvement and the process so that you can win an Olympic gold medal. Not a game against the Junior A team now. Not against Team Finland in a preliminary game necessarily. Give everybody an opportunity to develop and just allow that, especially when you play some of the weaker opponents. It's not necessarily going to make your power play any better, So let everybody play and let everybody penalty kill. And you know who your best will be when the moment arises. And I think that's just one bit of advice I have, but it's up to the coach and their philosophy. Tim, you were there both years, so what do you comment on?
Well, it's an interesting question or observation, Sammy, because that thought exactly entered my mind after we won. Is you obviously see the pain and the disappointment on the U.S. side, and they have a good body of success, obviously, behind them over the last 10 years. I really believe, like it did us, and I remember talking about this specifically when we lost that first World Championship in 2005. Let this be the fuel to drive us to be better and to be our best over the next 6-8 months heading towards Torino. I remember those words being stated, and I think you guys all embrace that in a very significant way. Very, very focused group over that year. And to Wally's point, I think, Mel had a terrific plan in that she did exactly what Wally is suggesting on different games. It was like, beyond, obviously beyond the goalies, but it was like, okay, Becky, Poundy, you're our best defensive pair, but you know what? You're not playing on the first penalty killing unit tonight. You'll be up and you'll get some PK time. You're not going to be on the power play. Different games, she slotted different people into power play roles and penalty killing roles to see how they reacted to and responded to either greater roles within a game or lesser roles within a game. I think that was really good preparation for us once we settled into who the power play units were and who the chief penalty killers were. But we felt like everybody could be on the power play because they'd all done it at some point during the year. Everybody could kill penalties, and I think that's a really important part of having team success, to have everybody feel that they are capable and prepared in some way to take on one of those roles, whether it's because they deserve it for improved play, or somebody gets injured, or the team is sputtering on the power play, or we're struggling penalty killing. Now different people can get a chance to take on those roles. Like there's any number of reasons why, it's sort of coaching for development in the early parts of seasons, and this being the early centralization season now for those teams is a really good approach, as Wally has suggested. But again, to answer the question specifically, I think it's going to refocus the U.S. team in centralization. I also thought, well, you know what? It's been a long time since we've tasted World Championship success, and now we have. And I think that is going to fuel us to want to win again, to put it really simply. So it's going to be really interesting. And, 9 of the last 11 meetings in championship games have gone to overtime. So we know it's a thin edge, and they can go either way. So it's important not to get too excited and think you're doing all the right things if you win. And also really important if you lose in those situations to realize it's not that you need to reinvent the wheel. It's like you just have to, reset and focus and try to do things a little bit better. You don't necessarily have to change a lot of things.
Yeah, if you remember too, Tim, that was the year for the U.S. that they cut Cammi Granato, so the team sort of self-imploded too. So
yeah.
That also certainly helped us moving forward. But, how does Canada in this situation not self-implode? I think you alluded to it, is that this is really just the first taste. It's not like they've been on this wave for a long time. So I think that drive and that fuel will be there. And I don't think that they will go through what the U.S. went through in our instance, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd like to make a point here, Tim, on your you're developing now. Now you're developing. The most important thing in human nature is the need to be appreciated. And the way you manage your bench and the way you're going to treat centralization, that feeling is really important in the creation of a team culture. And in the short-term competition, they managed to create a culture that everybody could accept. And that's, to me, was amazing in short-term competition. And it probably took more work than the coaching staff to maintain that mental resilience and commitment to winning. Possibly even, that's the big reason. So I'm just concerned about centralization, the players having a fair chance, being appreciated, being believed in, so that when the stage and the opportunity comes, the team is going to be the best they can be. But the quote that I always use, it's gold medal's a wonderful thing, but if you're not enough, you're never going to be enough without it. And you can't control who's going to win anything. I mean, they had a breakaway and Carpenter could have put it away on us. And we had a goal and we got it when we did. And when two teams play each other like that and that quality, I think Phil Jackson's line of their partners in the dance, they're making each other better. And that's the beauty of sports. So, well, I think we've had a great day, and I don't know what's going to happen next week, but I want to, I'm really glad we got Tim's wife on and got into the depth of her work and how that can move forward with whatever we do. So take care, everybody. And thanks for joining us, Sam. Bobby, thanks.
Yep.
And
Thanks, Wally.
hope your son's continuing to improve.
Well, he's made some progress in the last day or so. They started a tracheotomy yesterday and put the ventilator there, and that's helped them a lot.
Well, that's great. Well, we're thinking of him, Bob, for sure. Prayers and fingers crossed, whatever it takes.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Okay. Take care.
Okay,
Take care, everyone.
Thanks for jumping on, Sammy. It's always good.
Take care.